Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Batman Secret Files Clownhunter #1. This is one of those books where when it's good, and when it's bad, you kind of just really honestly want to close the book. This kind of reveals the backstory of Clownhunter and how he essentially gets as bitter as he does. He talks about his days in Gotham Academy and how he was picked on relentlessly, which is understandable, kind of being the outcast in this new preparatory school. But what I don't like is, so his parents were killed by the Joker during the Joker War. Get it. He's bitter because he's talking about how right here he says, after my parents were killed by the Joker, my aunt and uncle enrolled me in a private school and put me in an apartment on my own. Haven't seen them since. So you get that there's a lot of bitterness, isolation from him. But this whole thing is just, it focuses on him getting his ass kicked. And it always has to be like, it can't be like a variety of people, like teachers maybe talking down to him or girls calling him out. It was just constantly the jocks. And it gets to be such a tired cliche. Yes, jocks are douches for the most part. I'm not saying if you play sports that you're a douche. It's just the stereotype. I know because I played sports and there were a few of them in my team that were jerks. But when it's the entire school, there's something wrong there when you're writing. To me, that's lazy writing. And that's the part where I meant why when it gets bad, it's bad. Because yes, there are bad apples, but it's never the whole thing. And I think a lot of writers, modern writers, forget that. Now where the book gets good is when we get into the modern day. And so he's kind of become the vigilante of the Narrows. He's been trailing this clown named Soul, who has apparently been running his mouth saying that he works for the Joker and trying to get a crew back together for when Mr. J returns to the scene. And I like Clownhunter's costume from the point that it's simplistic. He's kind of this, seems like a sociopath. And that's what kind of made him interesting during the Joker War. And I kind of feel like instead of doing this Secret Files book, they should have just let him remain a mystery. Because when you start to kind of get more of the backstory, it sort of kind of kills that mystique, you know what I mean? So before going any further, this is Scar Tissue, Ed Brisson writing, art by Rosie Campi, colors by Andrew Dalhouse, lettering Simon Boland. Here's everyone else working on the book. Clownhunter created by James Tinney IV and Jorge Jimenez. Batman created by Bill Finger with Bob Kane. And so the Clownhunter, his deal is he doesn't like Batman, the way Batman works, because Batman's been in Gotham for years, and the Narrows and certain areas like that are still plagued with these breeding grounds for crime. So that's, after his parents were murdered, he decided that he's going to take it upon himself. Batman says he doesn't approve of his methods, and he's like, I don't care what you think. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And he's relentless. And I think that's what kind of makes him interesting, is because he does what Batman can't. That's what makes Red Hood interesting. Speaking of Jason, stand by. And the artwork, for the most part, it's serviceable for the book. As you can see, nice, well-done rendering of fire. And what I like is how, the one thing that I will give the book is Clownhunter talks about how, being picked on, you can either let fear control you one of two ways. You can either just continue to be the victim, or you can take that rage and that hurt and make it a driving force for the better. Which, okay, cool. But again, it goes back to the whole school, is not full of rotten people. Let's make this a little more realistic. As a writer's job is to kind of research things and kind of make it feel more grounded, down to earth, or take grounded things and then implement them into a bigger picture, i.e. X-Men books, Superman books, these beings with extraordinary powers, but yet they still have down to earth issues. Clownhunter's backstory is tragic, but I feel like Ed Brisson, or at least, I don't know if he got the notes from James Tynion, but it was just a little too tragic in terms of whole school, Gotham Academy, cannot be terrible. Sorry, but that's just not realistic, statistically wise. And so anyway, the reason I say that is to say this is because, okay, there's a couple of douches, but then he's talking about how, people that are jerks, they always outnumber. I could see a few of his buddies, but I don't know. I do feel to a degree that if a whole jock team teamed up like that, okay, let's say if even the whole team's a jerk, the coach or somebody would step in. I'm sorry, but that's reality. I don't know. This just felt too, call it tropey, stereotypical, whatever you want to call it, but that's unrealistic. Maybe not. I don't know. But it just, the jock thing. I don't know. It couldn't have just been like maybe some, jerks on the streets or just classmates down the hall. It always kind of goes back to a trope of, it's the footy ball team. And I'm not trying to say I defend sports, but just let's make it a little different. Let's mix it up again instead of, like, for example, okay, Spider-Man, Flash Thompson, a football player. Okay? And then you keep going forward, and it's just the whole jerky football, basketball, whatever. It gets played out. I would rather see something different. Like maybe he got jumped by a whole bunch of people on the street when he was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about going to Gotham Academy, and then he started to see the real grittiness of Gotham or something. I don't know. That's just me. Let me know what you guys think. So that's what I meant in this book by when it's bad, it's bad. But the whole back and forth between Alexis or Punchline and him is interesting, and I still enjoy how, when she acts like the victim, she looks very calm. But then when she doesn't think someone's watching, or she has a moment where she can manipulate someone, I love how they always give her that psychotic, crazy eye. It just works in this sense. Now going back to numbers, this is where he's showing how they never play fair. And this is where it kind of shows a fatal flaw with Clownhunter, because he thinks he could take on the world on his own. But I do like that they do show a moment of fear as all these clowns team up on him, because just the sheer number of them, no matter how much he's trying to fight. So with that said, I'm going to kind of skip all that. And when I said we'll put a pin in talking about Jason, Red Hood approaches him. He goes, Alexis was right. You're willing to do things that others won't. That makes you unpredictable. That gives you an advantage. Without proper training, though, and he's going to say, because what Joker did to him, but he just says, he'll just chew you up and spit you out. And Clownhunter, being a little prideful, he's like, I don't need help from anyone. I just want to work alone. But Jason offers to take him under his wing and train him, which, Red Hood is a badass, but he's still a hothead. And so I don't know if you want to be solo trained by Jason Todd or not, because there's some things that make him a little, kind of gives him a blind eye of his rage compared to Batman, who, he does have his blind spots, but Bruce always tries to keep level-headed, and that's why he's been able to do what he does for so long, as where Jason Todd does tend to sometimes go off half-cocked, and that's why a lot of writers make him the black sheep of the family. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what shapes up with this dynamic. But overall, this book, as I said, we're in the present with the Jokers and the back and forth between him and Punchline. Excellent. The backstory, not so much. It just felt too much. Instead of giving us any real reason to feel for him other than a couple of lines of dialogue saying, my aunt and uncle dropped me here. My parents are dead. At least with, what's it called? At least, okay, here's an example. Miles Morales, when they introduced him in the Ultimate Comics, there was 3 or 4 issues before he even got bit, where we followed him through his school, got to know his life, and really started to feel for him when he got these powers and he did not know what to do with himself. Here we have a one-shot, and we get a couple of pages of dialogue saying, my parents are dead. My aunt and uncle dumped me. And then this whole cliche of being beat up by the big scary kids. Come on. Ed Brisson's a good writer. You could have done so much more with this. And if they're going to do like a one-shot, you could have turned this easily into a thicker graphic novel and given us maybe a couple of chapters of getting to know who this kid was before he finally just kind of said, screw it. And it could have, it could have been like him kind of being bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, as I said, saying, okay, I'm starting Gotham Academy. And maybe me like a friend or two. And then, either kids through the school or, going out with his buddies into Gotham, and he starts getting beat up, starts to see, maybe he takes a trip down the Narrows to where he used to live, wanting to reconnect, and he sees the rundownness after the Joker War, and it just starts to weigh on him until he finally stands up for himself, whether it be at school or something. I'm using the analogy of Ultimate Spider-Man. After Miles gets bit, he doesn't really know what to do with his powers. And so he finally jumps into a burning building and saves someone. And he's like scared to death doing it. But at least we got to know his character. I don't know. That's just me. I have mixed emotions about this book. I just wish we could have gotten to know more about him instead of the tropey, oh, the big kids beat me up. Okay, well, I'm glad you stood up for yourself, but still don't know a whole hell of a lot about you, buddy. Sorry. So anyway, with that said, I give this a 4 out of 10. If you have enjoyed this comic book, please support your local comic shop and pick it up. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little hunter bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love to hear your thoughts and your feedback down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.